Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be creating this makeup look that you see right here with the Morphe 35T palette. It has this really pretty range of plums and browns and cool tone pinks. It also has a little bit of coppers, a little bit of everything in this palette. Really pretty, really pigmented. You're going to see me put it to use with this makeup look that I have on right now. Also, I did use this really beautiful Dazzle Shadow by MAC in honor of the displays all over the stores. I wore this makeup look the other day to work or something very, very similar. I kind of incorporated more pinks right now, but I wore something similar to work and I remember a ton of people asking what it was. If you want to learn how to get this look, then just keep on watching. I'm going to go into my eyes and I'm going to use the MAC Painterly Paint Pot. And I'm going to take this all across my eyelids because I am doing a pretty cool tone eye look. And this one's pretty pinky. So I think this will look nice with what I'm going to do. I'm using a little flat synthetic brush and running it all across my eyes from inner corner to outer corner. So it could dry up because since I am using a paint pot, I don't really need to set this because it sets pretty dry. It's not like concealer that stays wet on your eyelid. So I want to just pat everything in so it's nice and dry when I go in with eyeshadow. Okay, the first palette that I'm going to dip into is this Destroyed. It feels like a checkerboard in here because I broke the palette. But this is a 35T from Morphe. Be prepared. I dropped this and all the shadows just came flying out. So I'm going to work with what I have here. If you have this palette and you want to recreate this look, be cautious because when I put the little pans back in, I don't know if I put them in the right order. But anywho, I'm going to start off with this really light mauve tone here. And I'm going to use this in the crease of my eye. And I'm grabbing it with a really fluffy and little tapered 224 brush from MAC, and I'm just gonna start working this shade on the crease of my eye. So I'm really lightly going back and forth. So I'm going to switch brushes and I'm gonna grab a 217, which is a little bit more domed shaped at the, I'm like trying to show you but you're touching it. It's a little bit more dome shape at the end and it's gonna do a good job This brush is going to do a good job at packing on color. So I'm going to go in with this shade right here. And I'm picking up a tiny bit because I'd rather go in with a little and build than go in with too much and then I'm screwed. So I'm going to place this color where I want it. And I'm going to blend it out with the first shade I use with the 224. So I'm going to really pack it on the outer corner of my eye and slightly wiggle my brush into my crease. I'm lightly blending out that deeper shade that I put down just so I don't have any harsh lines. And I'm going a little bit above my crease because my eyes are pretty deep set and hooded. So I'm kind of creating a crease that I do not have, and that's a really good trick when doing these types of looks. I'm grabbing a little more densely packed brush so I can fluff some color into my inner corner because maybe the 217 was too big. So I'm wiggling this color back and forth and in circular motions. I grabbed a smaller brush to detail my inner corner. And you kind of just want to tilt your head backwards and create that shape that you want and lightly just switch and blend it out. So really lightly, the more color I pack on, I'm going to switch with the 224 and blend it out. I'm packing on a little bit more color in the inner corner. Also with the tip of this brush because I want my crease to be very defined. Next I'm going to dip into this shade right here from the palette with the same little tiny definer brush, and I'm going to just grab a little bit because this palette is quite pigmented and tap off the excess. and pop that right onto the lash line and taking it a tiny bit up towards the crease, but not too high because I still want that other shade that we applied before to come through. So I don't want to take it too high. I just want to concentrate it on my lash line and a tiny bit up towards that other shade. And I'm patting it into place. I'm not sweeping my brush around. So I'm really packing the color where I want it and where I want the most intensity and moving it slightly upwards, but not too much. Once I've packed on that purple, I'm going to blend it out. So now you're starting to see that gradient from like that mauve to that purple to the deeper plum shade. I'm going to do the same exact step to the inner corner of my eye. Popping it right on the inner corner. Okay, now I'm ready to carve out the crease of my eye, and I am going to do this with some concealer. I'm going to use the Age Rewind Concealer by Maybelline. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this concealer on a flat brush, and I'm going to pop it right on the middle of my eye where I have that halo. I don't want those harsh edges, so with my finger, I'm really lightly just gonna tap it in. I'm really patting the product in so it dries up. I don't really want a harsh cut line in the middle, so I'm just tapping it up there. I'm gonna blend out those edges a little bit, so I'm just gonna do the same transition that I did on my eyes on those corners. So going in with that light and that cranberry shade right here, that plum color, I'm gonna just lightly blend out those edges. Once I have that halo nice and carved out with some concealer, I'm going to use the star of the show, and this is the shade She Sparkles Dazzle Shadow by MAC, and this is a gorgeous, gorgeous color. It has specks of like silver, purple, and pink glitters. It is just this very beautiful, like champagne almost. It's a very unique shade and I love it. So I'm going to pack this color on with a MAC 239 brush. So I'm just going to saturate it a ton with eyeshadow, kind of breaking it apart in the pan and grabbing it so it's nice and metallic. I'm going to spray some Fix Plus on it to intensify the shadow a little bit more so it goes on nice and vibrant. And I'm going to start pressing the shadow onto my eyes. It goes on nice and metallic. I love it. And I feel like I dragged the halo a little bit more outwards than I would have wanted to. So I'm going to fix that and go in with that second plum shade and bring it in a little bit more, because I feel like I might have gone in a little bit outwards, and so I want to bring it back in. And I'm just blending those edges in to each other. Next, I'm going to be using this brushstroke liner in Brush Black, I believe. Yeah, Brush Black. And I don't want to do a wing because this look is very rounded. But I am just going to line my lash line, so when I apply my falsies, I don't have any skin peeking through. So I'm going to do mascara and lashes. I'm going to use this Pure Fully Charged Mascara and the Huda Beauty Farrah Lashes. I'm really loving this at the moment. And I did have my lash glue drying ever since I started the tutorial, so it should be dry by now. And I do that just so it could be tacky. Okay, as I have my lashes drying, I'm going to move on to the rest of my skin. I have this little sample of Skin Refine Zone by MAC because I wanted to try it. I've heard great things about it from my coworkers, but I didn't want to commit because I'm so committed to the primers that I'm using at the moment. But guys, this is good. Thank you. Thank you for the recommendation because this is awesome. I'm really loving it. And it does a good job at making my skin nice and tacky. So I'm going to put this on my T-zone to prevent any oil from coming through and also reduce the look of any pores. It's going to minimize them. And before I do that, I want to just quickly clean up like these inner corners with a little bit of concealer and a brush. So I'm going to take my Shape Tape and kind of put it right here because it could be really easy to look like someone punched you in the face, especially when doing like purples. So I'm gonna just pounce this right here. Okay, next I'm gonna move on to foundation. I'm using this Maybelline Fit Me foundation. I'm in between the shades 128 and 220, but I'm pretty fair at the moment, so 128 is pretty good for me. So I'm just gonna start in circular motions with this brush. This is the Oval 6 brush by MAC. Guys, I am obsessed with this brush to put on foundation. Usually brushes give you a more fuller coverage versus a beauty blender. It's going to sheer out your foundation.
I'm a full coverage kind of girl, and this just makes everything go on so smooth and creamy and flawless. I love this.
I guess the brush is so dense. It packs on the foundation so evenly and smooth. And it makes a little bit of foundation you pump out go a very long way, because you're not wasting product. I did want to spot conceal a little bit of the darkness and redness that I have on my skin, but I think I'm just going to do a second layer of this foundation, and that'll do a really good job at covering everything up versus having to layer so many products. And now I'm going to go in with a second layer just on those spots that I feel I need a little bit more coverage. Next, I'm going to dip into this little palette here. It's the medium tone from MAC, the concealer palette. And I'm contouring with the shade NW35, which is not a shade I will usually use to contour, but I'm so fair at the moment that this is actually working for me. It's crazy. So I'm going to just push the product into my skin. I'm not rubbing it, because I don't want to move anything that's underneath. Oh, well, hey there. And I'm using this to bronze and contour. So I want to make the sides of my head quite small and more narrow. So I'm placing it on the sides and on my temples. Bringing some down my cheeks as well. So this is just going to make my nose appear a little bit smaller. I'm going to blend out those edges. Now I'm going to go in with some concealer, but I want to hydrate my skin before then. So I'm going to spray Fix Plus just so my skin is hydrated for that concealer. I'm going to use the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. This is in the shade Light Medium. And I'm just going to use this to conceal and brighten under my eyes. I'm going to take it all the way in here to sharpen up that edge of my contour. Also, I'm going to do my forehead and down the bridge of my nose. I'm going to highlight my chin, my cupid's bow, and sharpen up the line of that contour, which is quite a mess. This I will do with a dampened beauty blender, and yes, I only use the Beauty Blender brand. I do not use any other brand. I do like the Real Techniques beauty sponge. I feel like that one works quite nicely. But any other sponges that you see at drugstores and things like that, stay away. You are better off using a brush because they do not... I don't know what it is about these sponges in particular that is so amazing. I guarantee you any other ones won't work the same. Okay, really quickly, I'm going to set my under eyes before I crease. I'm taking this Patrick Star powder and I'm dipping my wet, or dampen I should say, beauty blender and just getting into my under eyes. I use this as a setting powder, but I'm going to wipe it right off. I'm not going to let it sit Because since I am dry, I try to avoid powder sitting on my face because then it'll look like I have alligator skin. I'm going to dip a little bit on the back and run it all throughout. I'm going to use this butter bronzer by Physicians Formula. And I'm going to bronze my skin up a little bit. And this is in the shade Bronzer. I feel like this contours as well as bronzes on my skin tone. I really love the way it looks. And I'm gonna just give my nose some snatching action here. I'm gonna use this Tarte brush and a little bit of some MAC eyeliner, and I'm gonna run it through my waterline. I'm going to start building the same thing that I have on top. I'm going to do that at the bottom. So with a fluffy brush, it's kind of dense actually, no. Okay, so with this pencil brush, this is the Sigma E30. I'm going to dip into the first mauve color that I used and run it on my lower lash. And this has a lot of fallout, so I need to put something under my eyes. Otherwise, the fallout will ruin my face makeup. As opposed to putting a loose powder, it'll be easier to just dust everything off. I'm going to switch to this fluffy brush that I was using and go into the second. Oh, I just dropped another eyeshadow. And I'm going to use this cranberry color here. An M432. It's so good. And using that same shade that we used at the end. And I'm going to push this really close into my lash line. Do some matte black eyeshadow. I'm going to use Carbon by MAC. And I'm going to just push it really close to my lower lash. And I'm going to do a quick little... Actually, should I use this? Should I use this? Because my eyes are really cool. But whatever, I'm using it. I'm going to just use a little bit of it. So I'm going to just take a little bit of Nylon eyeshadow. It's this really white shade. And I'm just going to pop it right on my inner corners. The tip of my nose. Same places I applied the other one. I take a little bit of mascara to my lower lashes. This is a Giga Black Lash from MAC, and it's gonna get in my lower lashes really nicely, and it's nice and water resistant, so I don't have to worry about it running. This is an awesome mascara. I'm going to take this little bit of blush to my cheeks. This is Melba. And I like to do this after my lips are done. I could get pretty crazy with the amount of blush I put on and then it clashes with lipstick. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already to see more videos in the future. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. It'll notify you every time I post. Just stay one more.